What is the future of World of Warcraft? I don't know. There is a future, that's for sure. Is it a good one? Let's find out.
So we've been dealing with dragons for a minute now here in the Dragon Isles. We've got patch 10.2 on the way, and that's going to give us some really juicy content. But let's take a minute to look at the future of World
It
of
depends on how you
Warcraft.
define juicy.
Everyone loves speculating and giving their 2 cents on what the next
Oh, what the
expansion
hell is that? Did he just put a sword in the planet? There's a fucking sword in Azeroth? I don't
will
remember
have in
that.
store for us. But this isn't
When
coming
did
out
that
of
happen?
nowhere. Dragonflight is almost halfway past its lifespan. I know, crazy to think that it's already been that long.
I
And with
feel like
BlizzCon slowly creeping up on
I
us,
actually feel like we've been playing Dragonflight longer than a year. I don't know what it is. Something about Dragonflight feels like it's been a really long time. But I feel like this happens in every expansion. I always feel like, oh wow, we've been playing this expansion for 10 years now.
what better time to give us a highly
Yeah, almost a year,
anticipated
man.
announcement on the future of the game? So let's look at all the information on what the future holds for World of Warcraft and where we could be
Wait, it'll
headed
be a year in
next. We'll
November,
start with the
right?
obvious first. No pirates. I know that may
Yeah,
sound
I was
weird
so
to you,
excited
but
for a
believe it or
pirate
not, it's
expansion.
true. A sizable group of WoW enjoyers were heavily speculating as to whether the next expansion would involve pirates or not. Blizzard President Mike Ibarra swept in on
There
the
you go,
conversation
Tundra.
taking place and simply said, no pirates.
Man, I made the best freaking video about what a pirate expansion would look like. It's on my channel somewhere. I can't remember my YouTube channel somewhere. It was the best freaking video. And all Blizzard had to do was take that shit and copy it. It was like, what if AI wrote a pirate expansion? It was so good, man. It was so good. And I actually got excited. And then Mike Ybarra comes out and says, no, give me your PP, no pirates.
Sorry, guys. But on a much higher note, we have
Fuck
a much
pirates.
more exciting topic
No,
to
it's butt
cover on
fuck
top of
pirates.
this. I'm referring
Or
to the
butt
world
pirates.
revamp.
I don't know.
Well, this isn't 100% confirmed. It's obvious
That's
it's
going to
coming at
happen.
some point in the near
Yeah,
future.
that's going to happen.
New models are being added to the game for buildings and ships, as well as other interesting things. Blizzard has said themselves that they aren't particularly happy about leaving old zones behind to rot and age as new continents and areas make their way into the
Right.
game.
I think one thing that Classic has done for sure is it's reminded Blizzard like of the greatness that exists in those old zones. There's a lot to be done in those old zones. They should revamp them and then give us a reason to go back to them too. Don't just make them look nice. Give us some quest lines and some story maybe. Just reasons to open up that entirety of that world. There's the fucking Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor. Those are huge continents. There's a lot that can be done over there that you don't have to add. It doesn't have to be World of Island Craft. There does not have to be a new fucking island or portal every time an expansion comes out. You can do some shit in the world that currently exists. I think
Revamping all
that's
of
what they should
Azeroth
do.
is essentially creating WoW 2.0, and that isn't going to happen
Silver Moon.
overnight. But it's
You still can't even fly here. This is such a cool city. Such a badass in-game asset that has not been updated since it was added to the game, Burning Crusade. You can't even fly here yet.
clear that WoW is an old game, and it's about time we see some modernization of forgotten zones and characters, especially with so
this
much
talking about
potential
rating
left
videos.
untapped and waiting. Right, now that that's out of the way, let's move on to
We're
some
gonna get
more
there.
speculative information that caught the eye of the WoW community. First off, Thrall. In case you didn't notice, Blizzard has put a relevant WoW character onto their
It's
promotional
not Thrall. That's Chris Metzen. What's he talking
art
about?
for BlizzCon every single year. That character isn't a coincidence, as they usually play heavily into the story going forward, and giving us some foreshadowing as to where the story might be headed.
This was the coolest and worst cinematic ever. Like literally, Bolvar standing up on the frozen throne and igniting the blue fire, and a scourge, like a little scourge army standing in front of him, was probably one of the most badass moments in Warcraft cinematic history. And it was immediately followed up by one of the, definitely the worst moment in Warcraft cinematic history, where freaking Sylvanas beats him and rips the helm apart. What a turn! What a drastic change in emotions. I mean, literally, that is what is it called? Withholding a nut to the maximum.
This year's BlizzCon has
Blue
Thrall
Ball
on the
cinematic. That's what
promotional
it is.
art, which has led many to believe that he'll become the primary protagonist in the next expansion. Thrall has been sorely missed in the Warcraft scene. Him coming back into the fold could signify
Garrosh did
something
nothing wrong.
serious and world-threatening for Azeroth, but only time will tell. Now let's get into the juicy stuff, the exciting stuff, the things that you guys have been waiting to hear about. I'm of course referring to the next expansion.
All right.
And in terms of the story, really, we could be headed anywhere. However, there has been one unusual and reoccurring theme in Dragonflight:
Old
the
gods.
Void.
Yeah.
Which is something I never expected, but it does make sense as Naltharion did mess around with that stuff,
And
and
Farak is
his
doing it
legacy
now.
is left all
Yep.
over the Dragon Isles. So something was bound to happen at some point. One of our first encounters with the foreshadowing of the Void is in patch 10.0.7. It's here that we can visit the Forbidden Reach and find the Naga there, who have cleverly left behind a prophecy for us to read. It's called the Song of the Depths, and it states that Queen Ajara's return is
She's
on the
coming back
horizon.
for sure.
While they toil in the deep places, we will journey to the shores of
Is he having AI
Dragonlands,
read
to
this?
the blessed isle where the Worldbreaker first embraced the Whispers. As one storm recedes, another rises.
Why is Harambe on
The
this?
torches have been lit. The secrets he buried will strike as a dagger into the hearts of his kin.
We learned from the Naga that the Dragon Isles, or Dragon Lands as they call it, is where Naltharion first began to give in to the whispers of the old
You're
gods.
right, Unreal.
The Naga also predicted Sarkareth falling victim to the Void in Aberrus the Shadowed Crucible. As they explicitly say, the secrets Naltharion buried will strike as a dagger into the hearts of his kin. As we know, Sarkareth rebelled against the aspects and sought to continue the legacy of his father Naltharion. He had hoped
But he
to
was
find
like-
some greater power that
He was a real puss of a boss. I'll be honest. Sakareth was a shitty boss. Like, Razageth was much cooler than Sakareth. Sakareth is just a fucking larger Drakthir, first of all. Like, aesthetically, he looks like shit. And then the entire time he was bitching and moaning about... He was basically like a dragon with daddy issues. That's what he was. He was a daddy issues dragon that was bitching and moaning. He had abilities called Glittering Surge. I mean, where the hell are abilities like Execute and Beheading and all that shit? Yeah, he was just a shitty boss all around. I didn't care for him. I've killed him many times, and I don't care to kill him. It doesn't
his
get me
father would have
excited.
left behind for him, but instead met his end. The Song of the Depths also says this:
The Harbinger speaks of a primal power that seeks the end of order. Such rage can be bent to serve our ends. A hunger lost to the ages will be reclaimed, a dark heart left broken awaits the taking.
Whoever this Harbinger is clearly knows how much the Incarnates hate the Aspects and the Titans.
Primal
the Harbinger
power does
plans
equal
to take
elemental, that's
advantage
true.
of the Incarnates and use them for the Void's own purposes. But how exactly does the Harbinger plan to do this? Well, let's start with Eridikron telling his brother Farak to go down to the Zarlek Caverns and acquire the power of Shadow Flame, the same thing that corrupted
Full
Naltharion.
DBZ moment right there.
We also can't forget about Eridikron acquiring the remaining Void Essence from Galakron's corpse, as he and the Harbinger intend to use it for their own purposes. What we know is clear. Eridikron seeks revenge against the Titans, but in order to get them to come back, he'll need to threaten Azeroth in a way that if the Titans don't intervene, the world will
Azeroth
be
will
lost
die.
forever.
Yeah.
We
That makes
also know
sense.
that the Void obviously wants to corrupt Azeroth and turn it into a Void Titan, which means that Eridikron's alliance with them makes perfect sense. I think this is setting up the next expansion pretty well. If you can remember, in Warlords of Draenor,
Yeah, but I
the
feel like
Fel
that's
was
one
a
of the problems
prominent
with-
force being used by the Iron
That's
Horde.
one of the problems with Dragonflight, though, is like I feel like it's just been setting up the next expansion. Like we've been basically getting everybody to be friends to fight Eridikron in the next expansion. So the whole expansion has just felt like, oh, we're making friends, World of Friendcraft. Everybody be friends because Eridikron, who is not our actual end boss, is going to be the end boss later on. So we got to be friends to fight him. Power of friendship unite.
Iron Horde and Gul'dan,
Not
which
very
eventually
Warcrafty.
tied into Legion. So there you have it, guys. Dragonflight is still relatively young and still has a lot more content to offer us, but this is simply all we know
Does it,
for
though?
the
I
next
think 10.2
expansion
is
and
the last
future World
big
of
patch.
Warcraft so far. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Does the idea of a Void-themed expansion make sense to you? And how do you feel about the world of Azeroth being revamped? And what do you hope to
I'd
see
love
Blizzard
that.
do in the game in the near future? Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm Westcore, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Yeah, that was look, the main thing is I do feel like Dragonflight's just like a lead up to the next expansion. Also, is there anything really left? No, I think 10.2 is the last patch. 10.2.5 and .7 will come out later and finish out the story for us, but I don't think we're getting another raid tier. I think Farrak's going to be the final boss of the expansion, which makes me feel like, again, we've just been becoming friends with everybody to fight Iridikron in another expansion. So there you go. I mean, it's World of Friendcraft. But the good thing is Chris Metzen came back. He's going to bring back some of the grittiness, I think, in the war into World of Warcraft. And I'm excited for that. So maybe the future is bright.